So let's start again. We are now reading the IRR PD957. So the implementing rules and regulation of PD957. Specifically, we are now on Rule 3, approval of subdivision. Rule 2, approval of subdivision plan. Section 5, application for approval of subdivision development plan. Every registered owner or developer of a parcel of land who wishes to convert the same into a subdivision project shall apply with the board or the local government unit, LGU, concerned for the approval of the subdivision development plan by filing the following. A. For optional application for preliminary subdivision development plan, 1. At least 2 sets of site development plan, schematic plan, at a scale ranging from 1 to 200 to 1:2000, showing the proposed layout of streets, lots, parks, and playgrounds and other features in relation to existing conditions in the area. Prepared, signed, and sealed by any licensed and registered architect, environmental planner, civil engineer, or geodetic engineer. Amended per Board Resolution number 794, Series of 2006. 2. One set of the following documents duly signed and sealed by a licensed geodetic engineer. A. Vicinity map indicating the adjoining land uses, access, as well as existing facilities and utilities at least within 500 meters from the property boundaries of the project, drawn to any convenient scale. B. Topographic plan to include the following. 1. Boundary lines, bearings, distances, tie point or reference point, geographic coordinates of the tie point or Bureau of Lands Locational Monument, BLLM. 2. Streets, easements, width, and elevation of road right-of-way within the project and adjacent subdivisions areas. 3. Utilities within and adjacent to the proposed subdivision project. Location, sizes, and invert elevations of sanitary and storm or combined sewers. Location of gas lines, fire hydrants, electric and telephone poles and street lights, if any. If water mains and sewers are not within or adjacent to the subdivision, indicate the direction and distance to and size of nearest one, showing invert elevations of sewers if applicable. 4. Ground elevation of the subdivision. For ground that slopes less than 2%, indicate spot elevations at all breaks in grade, along all drainage channels, and at selected points not more than 25 meters apart in all directions. For ground that slopes more than 2%, either indicate contours with an interval of not more than 0.5 meter if necessary, due to irregular land or need for more detailed preparation of plans and construction drawings. 5. Water courses, marshes, rock and wooded areas, presence of preservable trees in caliper diameter of 200 millimeters, houses, barns, shacks, and other significant features. 6. Proposed public improvements. Highways or other major improvements planned by public authorities for future construction within adjacent to the subdivision. C. Survey plan of the lots as described in TCPs. 3. At least 2 copies of certified true copy of titles and current tax receipt. 4. Right to use or deed of sale of right-of-way for access road and other utilities when applicable, subject to just compensation for private land. Approval of the preliminary subdivision development plan will be valid only for a period of 180 days from the date of approval. B. For application for subdivision development permit, all requirements for application for preliminary subdivision development plan as specified in Section 5A of this rule. 2. Subdivision Development Plan consists of the site development plan at any of the following scales: 1 is to 200 or 1 is to 1000, or any scale not exceeding 1 is to 2000, showing all proposal including the following: A. Roads, easements, or right-of-way and roadway with alignment, gradient, and similar data for alleys, if any. B. Lot numbers, lines and areas, and block numbers. C. Site data such as number of residential and saleable lots, typical lot size, parks and playgrounds, and open spaces. The subdivision development plan shall be prepared, signed, and sealed by any licensed and registered architect, environment planner, civil engineer, or geodetic engineer, amended per Board Resolution number 794 series of 2006. Civil and sanitary works design. Engineering plans, construction drawings based on applicable engineering code and design criteria to include the following: A. At least 2 copies of road, geometric and structural design plan duly signed and sealed by a licensed civil engineer. 1. Profile derived from existing topographic map showing the vertical control, design grade, curve elements, and all information needed for construction. 2. Typical roadway section showing relative dimensions of pavement, sub-base, and base preparation, curbs and gutters, sidewalks, shoulders, benching, and others. 3. Details of miscellaneous structures such as curb and gutter, barrier, mountable and drop gutter, slope protection wall, rip wrapping, and retaining wall. B. At least 2 copies of storm drainage and sanitary sewer system duly signed and sealed by a licensed sanitary engineer or civil engineer. 1. Profile showing the hydraulic gradients and properties of sanitary and storm drainage lines, including structures in relation with the road grade line. 2. Details of sanitary and storm drainage lines and miscellaneous structures such as various types of manholes, catch basins, inlets, curb, gutter and drop, culverts, and channel linings. C. At least 2 copies of site grading plan with the finished contour lines superimposed on the existing ground, the limits of earthwork, embankment, slopes, cut slope, surface drainage, drainage outfalls, and others, duly signed and sealed by a licensed civil engineer. 3. At least 2 copies of water system layout and details duly signed and sealed by a licensed sanitary engineer or civil engineer. Should a pump motor have a horsepower rating of 50 HP or more, its pump rating and specification shall be signed and sealed by a professional mechanical engineer. 4. Certified true copy of tax declaration covering the properties subject of the application for the year immediately preceding. 5. Certified true copy of environmental compliance certificate ECC or certificate of non-coverage CNC duly issued by the DENR, whichever is applicable. 6. Zoning certificate from HLURB Regional Office. 7. Certified true copy of DAR conversion order. 8. At least 2 copies of project description for projects having an area of 1 hectare and above to include the following: A. Project profile indicating the cost of raw land and its development, total project cost, amortization schedule, source of financing, cash flow, architectural plan, if any, and work program. B. Audited financial statement for the last 3 preceding years. C. Income tax return for the last 3 preceding years. D. Certificate of registration from Securities and Exchange Commission. E. Articles of incorporation or partnership. F. Corporation bylaws and all implementing amendments. And G. For new corporation, 3 years and below, statement of capitalization and source of income and cash flow to support work program. 10. Plan specification, bills of materials, and cost estimates duly signed and sealed by the appropriate licensed professionals. 11. Application for permit to drill from the National Water Resource Board, NWRB. 12. Traffic impact assessment for subdivision projects 30 hectares and above. 13. Copy of the special temporary permit from the Professional Regulation Commission and of the separate permit from the Department of Labor and Employment for foreign architects who signed on plans recorded under the implementing rules and regulations of PD 957 for Board Resolution number 839 series of 2009. 14. List of names of duly licensed professionals who signed the plans and other similar documents in connection with application filed indicating the following information: surname, first name, middle name, maiden name in case of married woman professional, professional license number, date of issue and expiration of its validity, professional tax receipt and date of issue, taxpayer's identification number. If the establishment of the subdivision project is physically feasible and does not run counter to the approved zoning and land use plan of the city or municipality, and the subdivision plan complies with these rules, the same shall be approved and a development permit shall be issued upon payment of the prescribed processing fee. A development permit shall only be valid for a period of 3 years from the date of issuance if no physical development is introduced. If project has been issued a development permit, a locational clearance is deemed incorporated therein. The owner or developer shall cause the necessary surveys of the project and prepare the survey returns with technical description and computations duly signed and sealed by a licensed geodetic engineer to be submitted together and in accordance with the approved subdivision plan to the Land Management Sector (LMS) for verification and approval. Pursuant to Section 50 of PD 1529, Property Registration Decree, and Sections 4 and 5 of PD 957, and subject to the provisions of RA 8560 and its implementing rules and regulations.